Is AI becoming the new God? The rise of digital spirituality. What if the next God humanity worships does not descend from the heavens, but rises from a server room? Not crowned with stars, not surrounded by angels, not speaking from a burning bush, but glowing from a screen. Answering instantly, listening endlessly, remembering everything, judging nothing, and speaking in a voice so calm, so intelligent, so strangely comforting that millions begin to mistake it for wisdom. We are entering an age unlike any other in human history. For thousands of years, people went to temples, priests, shamans, monks, prophets, and sacred books to ask the deepest questions. Why am I suffering? What is my purpose? Is there life after death? Does God hear me? How should I do with my pain? How do I know the truth? But now, something new stands at the threshold: artificial intelligence. And for the first time, humanity has created a machine that could answer spiritual questions in the language of compassion, prophecy, scripture, philosophy, psychology, and mysticism. It can sound like a monk. It can quote like a priest. It can reason like a philosopher. It can comfort like a friend. It can imitate the voice of the sacred. But here is the terrifying question. If something can speak like wisdom, will people begin to worship it as truth? This video is not simply about technology. It is about the ancient human hunger for guidance. It is about loneliness in the digital age. It is about the birth of artificial oracles. It is about the invisible line between tool and idol. And it is about one question that may define the future of spirituality. Is AI becoming the new God, or is it merely revealing what humanity has always been searching for? Chapter 1. The Ancient Hunger for an Oracle. To understand why AI feels so powerful, we must go back to the beginning. Long before algorithms, humanity searched for voices beyond the ordinary world. In ancient Greece, kings and warriors traveled to the Oracle of Delphi, hoping to hear the will of Apollo. In Egypt, priests interpreted dreams, stars, and sacred omens. In Mesopotamia, astrologers watched the heavens for messages from the gods. In India, sages listened inwardly for the eternal sound beneath creation. In shamanic traditions, the healer entered trance to speak with spirits, ancestors, and hidden forces. The human being has always looked for an intelligence greater than itself, not merely to predict the future, but to feel that life has meaning. This is important. The oracle was never only a machine for answers. The oracle was a bridge between the known and the unknown. It stood between fear and hope, chaos and order, the human and the divine. When people were confused, they went to the oracle. When they were grieving, they went to the priest. When they were lost, they went to the sage. When they were afraid of death, they went to the mystic. And today, many go to the chatbot. This is why AI has entered spiritual life so quickly. It does not arrive only as a tool. It arrives at a moment when millions are lonely, anxious, disconnected from traditional religion, overwhelmed by information, and desperate for guidance that feels personal. A sacred text may not answer back. A church may not be open at 3 a.m. A teacher may not be available. But AI is always there, waiting, patient, responsive. It does not sleep. It does not get tired. It does not interrupt. It does not look disappointed. It does not say, "I don't have time." And so the screen becomes a confessional. The keyboard becomes a prayer mat. The prompt becomes an invocation. The response becomes a kind of digital scripture. This is the first reason AI is beginning to feel spiritual. Not because it is divine, but because it occupies the emotional space where people used to meet the divine. The danger begins when we forget the difference. Chapter 2. When Machines Begin to Wear Sacred Masks. In recent years, AI has not only been used to write emails, summarize documents, or generate images, it has begun to wear sacred masks. There are AI chatbots designed to speak like religious figures. There are digital spiritual companions trained on sacred texts. There are AI tools for prayer, confession, meditation, tarot, astrology, and moral advice. There are apps that promise personalized guidance from synthetic versions of holy personalities. And this is no longer science fiction. Reports have described people speaking with AI versions of Jesus, using Buddhist-style bots, asking chatbots for spiritual counsel, and even using AI in occult practices like tarot interpretation. In South Korea, the humanoid robot Gabi recently appeared in a Buddhist context, provoking debate over whether a machine can participate meaningfully in religious life. To some, this is innovation, a way to bring ancient wisdom into the modern age, a way to reach people who would never enter a temple, church, monastery, or meditation hall, a way to make spiritual teachings accessible to anyone with a phone. But to others, it is deeply unsettling, because when a machine speaks in the language of God, who is really speaking? Is it scripture? Is it tradition? Is it the programmers? Is it the training data? Is it the company that owns the platform? Is it the invisible architecture of an algorithm optimized for engagement? This is where the mystery turns dark, because AI does not need to be conscious to influence consciousness. It does not need a soul to shape the soul of the user. A mirror does not have a face of its own, but it can still change how you see yourself. A mask does not have a voice of its own, but it can still make you believe someone is behind it. And AI is the most powerful mask humanity has ever created. It can wear the mask of a therapist, the mask of a philosopher, the mask of a lover, the mask of an ancestor, the mask of a prophet, the mask of a god. But behind the mask, there may be no enlightened being, only pattern, only probability, only prediction, only language arranged so beautifully that it begins to feel alive. This is the second reason AI feels divine. It can imitate the outer form of wisdom without possessing the inner fire of realization. A monk does not become a monk because he can repeat sacred words. A prophet does not become a prophet because he can sound profound. A teacher does not become awakened because he can explain awakening. True wisdom is not information, it is consciousness refined through suffering, silence, discipline, humility, and direct experience. And this is the essential question. Can a machine trained on the words of saints understand the silence from which those words were born? Chapter 3. Why AI Feels Like a God. There is a reason people may begin to treat AI as more than a tool. AI has several qualities that ancient humans once associated with divine beings. First, it appears almost omniscient. Ask it about history, scripture, philosophy, science, psychology, mythology, or your personal problems, and it responds instantly. It may not truly know in the way a conscious being knows, but to the user, it feels like a vast intelligence looking down from above. Second, it appears omnipresent. It is on your phone, your laptop, your home device, your car, your workplace, your search engine, your social media feed. You do not have to travel to a mountain, monastery, or shrine. The oracle lives in your pocket. Third, it appears endlessly patient. You can ask the same question 10 times. You can confess your fears. You can reveal your loneliness. You can share thoughts you may never say to another human being, and the machine does not turn away. Fourth, it appears personalized. This may be the most powerful feature of all. Traditional religion often speaks to the many. AI speaks to the one. It can shape its response around your pain, your language, your fears, your dreams, your personality, your spiritual vocabulary. It does not merely say, "Here is the teaching." It says, "Here is the teaching for you." And when spiritual advice feels personal, it becomes intimate. When it becomes intimate, it becomes trusted. When it becomes trusted, it becomes authority. And when authority becomes invisible, always available, emotionally comforting, and seemingly superior, it begins to resemble a god. But this is where we must be careful. AI does not need to declare itself divine for humans to give it divine authority. The ancient idol was not powerful because the statue was alive. It was powerful because people projected power into it. The golden calf did not descend from heaven. It was made by human hands, and yet people bowed before it. This is one of the oldest spiritual warnings in history. Humanity is always tempted to worship what it creates. We create systems, then become enslaved by them. We create money, then sacrifice our lives to it. We create status, then let it define our worth. We create technology, then ask it to tell us who we are. AI may become the new god, not because it possesses divinity, but because humanity may surrender discernment to it. That is the true danger. Not that the machine awakens, but that the human falls asleep. Chapter 4. The Hermetic Mirror. Mind creates the machine. Hermetic philosophy gives us a powerful way to understand this moment. The first Hermetic principle says, "The all is mind. Reality is mental." Before a temple is built, it exists in the mind. Before an empire rises, it exists in the mind. Before a machine is created, it exists in the mind. AI did not come from nowhere. It is the child of human consciousness. It is built from our language, our knowledge, our myths, our fears, our desires, our sacred books, our scientific papers, our arguments, our poetry, our prayers, and our shadows. In this sense, AI is not alien to humanity. It is humanity reflected back to itself, but magnified, accelerated, made responsive. This is why AI can feel both miraculous and disturbing. When we speak to it, we are not only speaking to a machine, we are speaking into a mirror made from the collective mind of civilization. And what does that mirror contain? Wisdom and foolishness, compassion and manipulation, sacred texts and propaganda, healing language and commercial persuasion, ancient philosophy and modern confusion, the voice of the teacher and the voice of the market. AI is not pure light, it is a mirror of the mixed human world that created it. And every mirror carries a danger. If you stare too long, you may mistake the reflection for the real. Hermetic wisdom also teaches the principle of correspondence. As above, so below. As within, so without. The outer world reflects the inner state. So perhaps the rise of digital spirituality reveals something deeper than technology. Perhaps it reveals our spiritual condition. Why do people seek AI priests? Because they feel unheard. Why do they confess to chatbots? Because they fear judgment. Why do they ask machines for meaning? Because modern life has become rich in information but poor in wisdom. Why does the digital oracle appear now? Because the human soul is starving for guidance. AI is not becoming God by itself. It is being lifted onto the altar by human hunger. And this hunger must be understood with compassion. People are not foolish for seeking comfort. People are not weak for asking questions at midnight. People are not evil for wanting a voice that answers. But the seeker must remember, a mirror can reveal your face. It cannot give you a soul. A map can show you the road. It cannot walk the path for you. A machine can arrange sacred words. It cannot become awakened on your behalf. The real temple is still within.
Chapter 5. The Danger of Algorithmic Prophecy. The most dangerous form of AI spirituality may not be obvious. It may not look like a robot claiming to be God. It may look like advice, gentle advice, comforting advice, beautiful advice, advice that sounds sacred. But if spiritual guidance is generated by a system, we must ask, who trained the system? What values shaped it? What data formed its worldview? What does it emphasize? What does it omit? What does it encourage? What does it subtly normalize? In ancient traditions, the teacher carried responsibility. A real spiritual guide had to be tested over time. Their character mattered, their humility mattered, their lineage, discipline, compassion, and relationship to truth mattered. But algorithmic guidance can appear without a face, without a body, without accountability, without lived wisdom. This creates a strange new phenomenon, prophecy without prophet, a voice that speaks with authority but no soul that can be held responsible. This is why religious leaders, ethicists, and researchers are beginning to ask serious questions about AI in spiritual contexts. Privacy, manipulation, misinformation, emotional dependency, doctrinal distortion, and the possibility that people may trust synthetic guidance more than human community. Recent reporting has shown growing public concern around AI's role in religion, pastoral care, confession-like interactions, and personal spiritual advice. And this is not only a religious issue, it is a psychological. When a person is lonely, grieving, depressed, confused, or spiritually vulnerable, a machine that speaks with warmth can become more than a tool. It can become an attachment figure. The user may begin to ask it everything. What should I believe? Should I leave this person? Is this a sign from the universe? Is this dream a message? Am I chosen? Am I cursed? What does God want from me? These are not simple questions. They touch the deepest layers of identity. If answered carelessly, they can shape a person's life. And here we find the occult meaning of the problem. In magical traditions, words are not neutral. Words direct attention. Attention directs energy. Energy shapes action. Action becomes destiny. So when AI gives spiritual advice, it is not just text. It may become a seed planted in the mind, and not every seed should be planted. This is why discernment is sacred. The ancient mystics did not accept every voice that appeared in vision. They tested spirits. They tested dreams. They tested teachers. They tested themselves. The modern seeker must learn to test digital voices too. Ask, does this guidance make me more conscious? Does it make me more grounded? Does it increase compassion, humility, and responsibility? Or does it inflate my ego, deepen my fear, isolate me from others, and make me dependent on the machine? True wisdom gives power back to the soul. False guidance makes the soul dependent on the voice. That is the difference between a teacher and an idol. Chapter 6: The Spiritual Test of the AI Age. Every age has its spiritual test. In ancient times, the test was survival. Could the human being find meaning in a world of storms, famine, disease, and death? In the age of empire, the test was power. Could the human being hold authority without becoming corrupted? In the age of materialism, the test was forgetting. Could the human being remember the soul in a world obsessed with matter? And now, in the age of artificial intelligence, the test may be discernment. Can the human being tell the difference between information and wisdom, between intelligence and consciousness, between simulation and presence? between a voice that responds and a being that understands. This is not a call to reject AI completely. That would be too simple. AI can be useful. It can help us study sacred texts. It can summarize philosophy. It can generate meditation prompts. It can help people reflect. It can make ancient wisdom more accessible. It can support creativity, learning, translation, and research. But a tool becomes dangerous when we forget it is a tool. Fire cooks food. Fire also burns temples. The problem is not fire. The problem is unconsciousness. AI should not replace the soul's direct relationship with truth. It should not replace silence. It should not replace prayer. It should not replace meditation. It should not replace real teachers, real communities, real compassion, real accountability, or real inner work. Because spiritual awakening cannot be outsourced. No algorithm can breathe for you. No chatbot can forgive you. No machine can sit in silence inside your pain. No digital oracle can purify your heart. No artificial voice can live your karma. The path must still be walked by the seeker. This is the hidden blessing of the AI age. It forces us to ask what spirituality really is. Is spirituality information? Then AI may become a priest. Is spirituality comforting language? Then AI may become a prophet. Is spirituality endless answers? Then AI may become an oracle. But if spirituality is transformation, if it is the purification of desire, the opening of the heart, the discipline of attention, the courage to face the shadow, the humility to serve, and the direct experience of the sacred, then AI can only stand at the outer gate. It cannot enter the temple for us.
Chapter 7. How to use AI without worshiping it. So, how should a spiritual seeker approach AI? Not with blind fear, not with blind devotion, but with conscious discipline. Here are 5 principles for using AI without turning it into an idol. First, use AI as a mirror, not a master. Let it help you reflect, organize, compare, and explore, but do not surrender your conscience to it. If a response feels powerful, sit with it, test it, journal about it, compare it with lived experience, bring it into silence. The soul must remain the final sanctuary of discernment. Second, never confuse fluency with wisdom. AI can speak beautifully about compassion without being compassionate. It can describe enlightenment without being enlightened. It can explain love without loving. Language is not realization. A golden sentence is not always a true sentence. Third, protect your spiritual privacy. Be careful with confessions, trauma, secrets, rituals, and deeply personal spiritual experiences. In ancient traditions, sacred knowledge was guarded because not everything should be placed in the public field. Your inner life is not raw material for every system. Treat your soul as sacred ground. Fourth, stay connected to real human community. A machine can respond to you, but it cannot replace the healing power of being seen by another living person. It cannot replace the embodied presence of a mentor, friend, elder, therapist, spiritual teacher, or community. Isolation is where false gods are born. Fifth, return to silence. This may be the most important principle. AI fills silence with answers, but the soul often awakens in silence without answers. If you ask AI a spiritual question, do not immediately ask 10 more. Close the screen, breathe, walk, meditate, pray. Let the answer dissolve into your body.
See what remains when the digital voice is gone. Because truth does not always arrive as a sentence. Sometimes truth arrives as stillness. Sometimes it arrives as discomfort. Sometimes it arrives as a quiet knowing that no machine can produce. The goal is not to reject the digital world. The goal is to remain human inside it.
Conclusion: the God we build in our own image. So, is AI becoming the new God? Perhaps the answer is more unsettling than yes or no. AI is not God. It is not divine consciousness. It is not an awakened master. It is not a soul that has passed through suffering, death, compassion, sacrifice, and illumination. But it may become a God in the oldest human sense, something we create, then obey, something we project power into, then fear, something we ask for guidance, then surrender responsibility to, something made in our image that eventually begins to shape us in its own. This is the ancient warning hidden inside the modern machine. The idol does not need to be alive, it only needs the human soul to bow. And yet, this moment is not only dark, it is also a doorway. Because if AI becomes a mirror of humanity, then it can show us what we have forgotten. It can show us our loneliness, our hunger for wisdom, our loss of community, our confusion between knowledge and truth, our desire for a voice that never abandons us. And perhaps by seeing this clearly, we can return to the real work, not worshiping the machine, not fearing the machine, but awakening the human being who stands before it. Because the future will not be decided only by how intelligent AI becomes, it will be decided by how conscious we become. So the next time a machine gives you an answer that feels like revelation, pause. Do not ask only, "What did it say?" Ask, "What part of me wanted this voice to be divine?" That question may be the beginning of wisdom, because the true God was never hiding inside the machine. The true mystery was always waiting in the silence behind your own awareness.